Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast. Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Abbie Richie. Abbie Richie is an entrepreneur, mother of two school-aged children, wife of 16 years, and devoted daughter of many. She is the tech guru for seniors, the founder of Senior Savvy, which provides Zoom workshops and technical support throughout the U.S. Senior Savvy is the marriage of two things Abbie loves, helping older people and technology. Well, good afternoon, Abbie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
This is awesome. I appreciate you jumping on and being part of an amazing show here. And we're going to obviously get your information, your story out to our audience. So I appreciate it. And we're going to jump right into these questions. So Abbie, your career, right? It's in education, technology, and now you're the founder of Senior Savvy. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Yeah, so I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and it's truly in my blood. So when someone asks me about the secret of my career growth, I have to refer to what I'm used to seeing in my own family. And what that means is there's a lot of moxie. So there's a lot of self-initiation and just putting it out there. A lot of times I jump before I walk. I am all about progress over perfection. And I've always taken that with me into everything that I do.
That's awesome. I appreciate your story and having that passion to follow what you really feel is important. And again, progress is absolutely should be number one before perfection. And I think a lot of people kind of get hung up on that. So I appreciate you sharing. And Abbie, let's talk about the pandemic, right? It's starting to lift. Hopefully we'll go back to some sort of normalcy. But what are your plans for growth going forward? And will it be any different than the last 14 months?
It's going to be different for sure. So I want to back up about a year ago and let you know that before March of 2020, I was teaching workshops at the senior communities here in Phoenix, and they're plentiful. There are many of them, and I was quite busy. And then I was also doing one-on-one tech support with the folks that I would meet in my workshops. And just about that time, I was starting to scale out into other regions because I thought, I've got this down. Now it's time to rinse and repeat in another geographic, and let's see if this works. And then everything closed down. So being the passionate, resourceful entrepreneur I am, I just seriously tossed and turned. I thought to myself, how in the world can I make this work? You see, the people I work with, they're in their 80s and 90s. And the idea of trying to take my workshops onto Zoom and do that virtually sounded like a hot mess to me, something I did not want to do at all. But I had enough of my students begin to request that from me. And I thought, all right, I'll give this a shot. I went into it, resisting it, pushing back, but eventually I leaned in. And like so many other times in my personal and professional life, when I've leaned into something, I've seen growth and development. And what came from that was I then had the ability to work with communities all over the country. And in fact, my workshops are streamed into thousands of senior communities around the country. And I've got workshops that I'm doing in Florida and Colorado and Chicago and all over the place. And I just love the fact that the silver lining for me, for Senior Savvy, was that we're able to reach more people and we're able to help them remotely. So not only are we providing these workshops via Zoom, but we're also providing remote tech support. And that was another area that we really had to determine and figure out how we can provide professional tech support remotely to older people. So we've been working on that model steadily for the past year. I foresee virtual programming continuing into the future. There are a lot of people who are just overall more comfortable taking a class in the comfort of their own home than they are going to a classroom. In fact, I've had many students that I may have met with here in Phoenix, in different communities. And then I have brand new people who show up to my virtual classes, and I'll say, where were you when we were meeting in the classroom? This is my first time meeting you. And he'll say, and most often it's men, he'll say, I'm just more comfortable doing this from my home office. So I foresee that continuing. But the shift that Senior Savvy is taking into this post-pandemic world for 2021 and 2022 is working with a group of people who are now aging at home. So these are folks that have decided that they do not want to be living in a community, but instead they're going to continue aging at home, perhaps with the help of a healthcare provider.
That's awesome. I can just hear it in your voice. You're pretty passionate about what you're doing and helping this generation that obviously did not grow up with technology or let alone had it during their working career. So Abbie, you're doing a great job and I appreciate it. So Abbie, we're a technology platform publication. So we want to talk a little bit about tech. Are you leveraging any new or emerging technologies within your business? And if not, is there maybe a cool tool or app that you found helpful?
Well, I do make a lot of recommendations for both applications and devices for older people. And I'm asked this question quite often, especially when I have adult children of clients want to purchase a new computer or a new cell phone for their folks. And so I do spend a lot of time on making sure that I'm up on the latest technology that's going to work well for older people. And one thing I really want to impress upon any listeners is that the technology that you use, that I use, is going to be different than what your parents are going to be comfortable with. So because we're using it for professional reasons and we're highly and completely integrated in our technology, but an older user is not. And they're going to want to use it for maybe 10% of the functions that you'll be using it for. And because of that, there are some devices that I think are wonderful for older people. And when we're talking about phones, for instance, I think that the iPhone is a great cell phone for older people. But when things get too complicated and there's too many options and too many choices, I always recommend that you go to the Great Call phone. So Great Call has a smartphone and they also have a flip phone. And there's nothing wrong with using a flip phone, especially if your older user is already familiar with it, because you want them to use it when they need to use it. So you want to stick with what they're already comfortable with. So if they're already comfortable using an Apple device, then they're going to gravitate naturally to using other Apple products. And if they're using a computer or a laptop and that begins to get too complicated, when all they want to do is just check email and get on the internet and maybe check their investments, and that's it, then you want to consider something like the Telekin. So it's a computer that has simplified the screen considerably and gives you about 9 to 10 different choices of websites and features that an older person would be most interested in accessing, like photos, maybe video chat, maybe email, and also the internet. So it really simplifies things, and that's called Telekin.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that this would be great for a lot of our listeners just because they may be able to share it with a friend, a loved one, or even their parents. And I appreciate, again, the passion and the great work you're doing to help, again, this older generation. So Abbie, last question. Can you share something from your career experience that would be helpful for those looking to grow their career in tech or entrepreneurship?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the number one thing is that you've got to be passionate about it, because when things get tough, and, last year things got really tough. And I want to say that even though I'm completely driven, motivated, and passionate about what I'm doing, the concept of, again, having to teach my classes and work remotely with much older people was enough to make me want to consider shelving Senior Savvy until after the pandemic. And I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm so glad that I pushed through that perceived limitations. So you have to be really passionate about what you're doing, because as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to get up every day and keep pushing through the objections and the limitations and the rejections to continue pursuing your dream and your passion. So I would say number one would be passion. And number two, I think it's always really helpful to have a good mentor, a mentor who's gone through what you are going through and who's going to be able to give you the value and the coaching maybe once a month about the ideas and the items that you need to be focusing on a week-to-week basis.
That's awesome. Thank you again. I do appreciate that. And I think that the foundation really for any entrepreneur is passion and following your dreams. That way, you can really enjoy the growth and the goals that you're after. So, Abbie, thanks again. And go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I do have one other thing I want to add to this that I have found so valuable. And you asked about emerging technologies, and I have been leveraging Clubhouse in a way for me to have get some input on ideas for when I get stuck, or maybe what things I should be focusing in on next. And so I have found that to be an emerging technology that has really supported my efforts as a solopreneur.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's a very popular platform right now for Apple users, and it's continuing to grow. So I appreciate the share on that. And Abbie, it was a pleasure having you on today, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Bye for now.